Yo, what is up guys, it's Aqsept here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna do patch 14.23 rundown. Yeah, compared to the last couple of patches, this one doesn't have a billion changes, but still not like a meaningless patch, for sure. But we're gonna try to go through it quite quickly. And quickly before we start as well, I just wanted to let everyone know that I do coaching individually, so if you want to check that out, I have a link on my coachify both in the description and like up wherever it is for a notification up there. You can check that out. First session you do with me is 50% off. Yeah. Alright. Let's see this. Griefing and champ is select. Well, hopefully this just means that people get more punished for griefing and champ select. I hope that's what it means at least. Alright. Let's see here. First of all, though, we have Ambessa changes. Ambessa, I think, of the first patch is really OP, personally. I think she has some lanes which are quite hard for her to play, but I've found none that are completely unplayable, I would say, except for maybe like some range matchups. Yeah, I think she's really strong. She's been really strong in mid lane, especially as well. Yeah, I just think people need some time to learn her for win rate to go up, but I think once people learn her, she's gonna be really strong. Alright, her slam cost windows, her Q2 is up by 0.4 seconds, so this is to make it so that her passive and her Q2 is the same, what's called expiring time, or like cost window, kinda. Yeah, it's mainly like a, what's it called, quality of life fix, but I mean, it does help a bit. Dash is no longer go over player created terrain, so it doesn't go over the Orn Q, Trundle Q, or Trundle E, I mean, etc. That's good. It's just a bug. Movement commands issued before a successful cast will be discarded after slamming the enemy to avoid, but this is really nice, because this sometimes you got fucked over if you like try to ult a K'Sante and then you W up, let's say. Yeah. Aurora passive is first of all, if you haven't seen Aurora changes, we're gonna go through it quickly, but I really don't like what they're doing. But either way, they're removing movement speed from her passive is the first thing. They're increasing the cooldown of Q by 1 second. They're increasing the range by 50. Recast damage is up by very slight damage, like 5 damage, and now it automatically recasts if the duration runs out. So it means that basically, like, if you're stunned or something like this, it would automatically recast, right? Or silence, something like this. You can still recast it early if you want to. The W now grants movement speed on cost. Initially, they were actually gonna nerf this even more, I think, or change this even more, and not give it resets on kills, but they seem to have removed that, so that's quite nice. E range is up by 25. Her ult duration is 1 second longer early, and then goes up to 1.5 on the rank 3. Enemies are no longer trapped inside, but it will slow them instead for quite a long duration for 75%, which is quite a lot. But it does mean that you could like theoretically cleanse out of it if you want to. You can walk out and then cleanse, and you're no longer slowed, etc. Or if you have slow resist, something like this, right? Grants the same amount of movement speed granted by W instead of amplifying Aurora's current movement speed. Alright, sure. So initially, they like, what I don't like about this is that it feels like she's gonna be way worse for top lane, but I guess that's also what they're trying to push her out of. They're buffing her ranges to make her more viable against other range champions, nerfing her movement speed on passive so that you can't just stack it up against melees, etc. Yeah, I think initially, like, when Aurora came out, my view on the champion was that she's a very unique champion, like a kite mage, kind of like Lilia in a sense. And I thought that the direction they went in with the ult, making it shorter initially, but having like a lot of bursts, doesn't make sense to me. I think they should have made this ability to be like way longer, potentially, but don't deal damage, you know? And keep her identity kind of as a kite mage. I think she would have had a really unique design then. Instead of just being a champion that's like, okay, you wait with your ult, you press it, and then you one-tap some people, and you play cleanup, right? I don't know. I don't like that style as much. They're not doing as many changes as initial. As I said, I think she's going to be slightly worse in top lane because of this, but probably slightly better in mid lane, I would imagine, but I'm not sure about that either. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, she's for sure going to be worse in top lane. Yeah, and as I said, I would imagine she's slightly better in mid lane, but she can't trade as much level 1, etc. like as she could before. And her ult, I don't know if this is a nerf or not, to be honest. I mean, I don't think it does much, because still, she's kind of like before, she just kind of wants to play burst, I think. And, I mean, this doesn't change that, right? So, yeah, I mean, if you get a good ult, you're still gonna get a good ult, right? And the enemy is gonna be slowed like crazy, and you're gonna deal tons of damage, so... yeah, it's still probably really good. Alright, anyways, let's keep going. Azir W damage is up a bit on the AP ratio by 5% on every level. This doesn't do that much, to be honest. Yeah. They're slowly buffing Azir, though. They buffed him, I think it was last patch as well. Maybe it was the patch before, but I think it was last patch. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I think, like, I would say that... I don't think this does that much, but they are buffing him continuously, so if they keep going like this, at some point Azir's gonna get back into the meta, and they're gonna like probably nerf some mage champions as well at some point, and then Azir's gonna be really strong. Because right now, Azir playing into like Orianna, Syndra, these are not very nice matchups, I would say. They're playable, of course, but yeah, but as the more they buff this champion, the closer he's gonna get to coming into the meta, so I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes really OP at some point, right? Caitlyn R damage decreased from 150 bonus AD to 100% bonus AD. Yeah, I mean, this does some stuff. It kind of nerfs the, what's it called, first strike Caitlyn more than anything, I would say, but it doesn't do that much, I would say, either. She's still strong for the same reason she's strong right now. Attack damage growth on Jinx is up by a bit, so 0.25. This means at level 10 you get what? 2.5 AD? I mean, this is not that meaningful, is it? Yeah, it's really not that meaningful. W damage decreased. Or AD ratio. I mean, I would say overall this is probably a nerf. It looks more like a nerf than anything. Yeah. Not a big nerf though. She's kind of remaining the same, right? Kha'Zix's base armor is down by 4. His evolved W slow to isolate the target is down by 15%. Yeah, I mean... I wouldn't say that, like, Kha'Zix is, like, that OP or anything right now. This seems like a bit of a weird change. It kind of, like... The thing is, like, Kha'Zix is, like, a very niche champion. He's very good into certain champions. He's very good at, like, Viego. He's very good at, like, Xin Zhao. Some of these champions where he can, like, get isolation on quite easily and deal a lot of damage. And actually 1-1 in the early game. I don't know. I wouldn't say that these are changes that... it kind of pushes him out of these matchups, which are, like, the few matchups you would see him in comp play. Like, it's mainly a nerf for solo queue, right? I get that, but... I feel like these two changes target comp more than anything. I feel like they could have done a better job at nerfing solo queue Kha'Zix. If that's what we were aiming at. Alright, Kog'Maw Q armor magic resist shred is down by 7% in the early game, but it's up later. Sure. And his E damage is down a bit later, 25 flat at 5% AP. I mean, yeah, it doesn't do that much. It nerfs him for sure, though. Like, I won't say that. Like, especially the early game, right? It's gonna be quite meaningful. AP Kog'Maw is quite strong right now. His laning is quite strong. This is gonna nerf his laning phase. Is it enough to push him out of the meta? I'm not sure. Maybe. But yeah, it's like, maybe mid lane more than bot lane, I would say. But with that being said, you also get more XP in mid lane, so maybe that's not even the case. But I don't know, it feels like it would target mid lane more, because bot lane just kind of sits the scales anyways and doesn't do that much. Mid lane you kind of have to interact with your opponent, etc. Or like actually lane a bit more, rather than you stand AFK, so yeah. Must our bonus attack speed up by 10% on rank 2 and 20% on rank 3. I don't know, Mossy is a weird champion. Like, he's still gonna suffer from the same things before. I mean, yeah, it's for sure a buff, but I don't think it's gonna do that much. I wouldn't look too much on this champion. Q mana cost on Misfortune decrease 40 on all ranks from 43 to 55. I don't think this does that much. Maybe it helps her early lane phase a bit, right? Before she gets SS Reaver, but yeah, I mean, I still think you build SS Reaver on this champion, so I mean, maybe there's some worlds where you could look to go like Bloodthirster instead. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's gonna do that much though. As I said, maybe help the early lane phase a bit, like you get 9 mana on Q on the rank 3, for example. That's probably gonna do a bit, but not too much. Q cooldown decreased on Rammus. 4 seconds is actually quite a bit for the early game, because this is not a spell you max early on, I'm fairly certain. Like, I don't play Rammus, I'll be honest, but I feel like you max the shield first or whatever, right? So I feel like this is actually a decent buff. Like 4 seconds is not that little, to be honest. Yeah, it's a decent buff for sure. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Delivering a kit update. I've not seen this. Alright, sure. Alright, let's just read through this. Wait, okay, let's read what they're trying to do. Version of Rel that's more fun and engaging for our players and more interactive for our opponents. First, we'd like to increase Rel's opponent access to counterplay. Okay, let's just read this system. Armor is decreased flat. Increased a bit by growth, but overall this is a decrease, right? Same thing with the MR. MR is just flat out nerfed, yeah. The mana is also just nerfed. Mana regen is up a decent amount. Movement speed is down by 15. This matters a lot, I would say. Attack speed growth is up by a bit, but this doesn't really matter on the champion because she doesn't like attack at all, basically. Attack wind up is down by a bit. Attack speed animation scaling. No, attack speed will animate Rel's attacks faster. Okay, sure. So maybe this is, I mean, yeah, let's just read. Passive now deals 5% total armor magic resist damage on hit. Minimum resist stolen is up by a bit in the early game. Q stun duration is down by 0.1. W new, or the crash down now stuns enemies for 0.8 seconds. Dismounted 10% slow has been removed. Sure. So she's not slowed? Is that what it means? I don't know, bro. Cooldown down by 1 second. Knockup duration 0.1 to 0.4, but this is overall an increase, right? Because it stuns as well, right? So yeah, now it's 1.2. Dismounted armor magic resist is up by a bit. Dismounted attack speed is down by a bit. W mount up is down by 1 second as well. Knockup duration is unchanged. Stun duration is down by 0.6, so this is just completely nerfed. Mount the movement speed 335 to 380 out of combat, 332 to 355 in combat. Now it's going to be 330 to 355, so this is just a nerf in general. Alright, under E, full tilt, movement speed no longer ramps up from 75 effectiveness over 2 seconds. Cooldown from 15 seconds to 14 to 10. This is quite a buff, because now you might actually buff or level this. Like, I'm not sure if you already level it like first or second, but now it has a lot of value, I would say. Damage. It's now gonna be like based on max health instead of just a flat amount. Sure. Damage cap goes from 150 to 300. Okay. Initial movement speed towards enemies is up. Initial movement speed running away is, well, up in the early game and nerfed later. Maximum movement speed towards enemies is nerfed, and maximum movement speed running away is also nerfed. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what it's gonna do. What they're trying to do, right, is just lower her amount of CC, right? But increase the, like, abilities that have more, what do you call it, like, skill expression, like her W, for example. Like, they're trying to involve more with, like, lower cooldown, especially her crash down, right? It's more meaningful compared to her mount up, which is, like, a bit less interactive. And her E is more impactful straight away, so if you're good at using this ability, also it's gonna be lower cooldown, as we said, right, later. So maybe it's hard to say what it's gonna do. I think at the core, to be honest, she's still gonna be the same champion, and she's not gonna have been changed that much. I would say that she's probably gonna be less prevalent in pro play than right now, just from initial thoughts, since her stun abilities, or like her really reliable abilities, are a bit nerfed. Alright, Rengar. Armor Shred is up by 3, 2, and then 1, and then there is bonus AD goes from, or I can't speak. Bonus damage, rather, it goes from 50% to 100% total AD. I mean, this is just a flat up buff, right? Yeah, I can't speak. It's actually insane. Wait, let me drink a bit. Yes. No, I mean, this is just a flat up buff, right? I feel like nerfing Kha'Zix this kind of way and then buffing Rengar, I don't know. I wouldn't say like... I feel like Rengar is a champion I really don't enjoy playing against. I also think the champion is really OP if you know how to play it well. Like, that's something I would say. I think Rengar is one of the most OP champions in the game, but you need like so many games on it for it to be that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think it's weird to buff it, but I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? It's not a crazy buff though, so it's probably not gonna change much, but yeah. MR of growth decreased, or Shyvana E damage decreased. This is just a flat up buff or nerf. I mean, Magic resist growth is down by 0.55. This is gonna mean that she loses 5.5 MR on level 10. I mean, it's a decent amount, not a crazy amount, but yeah. And their E damage is, let's see here, down by 10% AP scaling. I mean, this doesn't do that much, but I think Shyvana is already a champion that is not like that insanely strong or anything. So yeah, it's like they're nerfing a champion and just kind of kicking it to the ground, right? Like, in a sense. Yeah, I don't think it does that much, but I don't think Shyvana is that good of a champion right now already. So, alright, Skarner Q damage is nerfed not by that much, to be honest. I mean, the base damage remains the same, but it has less scaling with Skarner's bone HP. This champion is still OP. Please just got it already, Riot Games. Thank you. Now, Smolder. This a lot of changes. I haven't actually read this. My understanding so far is that they are making the stacks less relevant, but making gold better on the champion. So let's see this. In his current state, Smolder is a bit too good at stalling out games, which gives him plenty of time to accrue stacks and get to his powerful late game. Sure, I can kind of agree to this, that he has way too good wave clear. Executing all blah blah. We're not looking to make a stacking mechanic pointless, but we do want to shift how much of his power comes from stacks into both stacks and gold. Still be a premier scaling ADC, but in that way it is solely dependent on stacking, which also has to remove his pro skill skew. I feel like if you are trying to nerf him from stalling out games, just nerf his wave clear now. Because that is what stalls out the games, because it's impossible to siege for Smolder. Nerf his poke, nerf his wave clear, right? You nerf these two, and all of a sudden the champion has a lot of counterplay. The problem is that Smolder sits in wave clears, you make one mistake versus the champion, and then all of a sudden it's 3 items and he's just one-tapping you from a screen away, right? That's what, for me at least, has been really obnoxious with the champion, but either way, let's read this. Q damage goes from total AD to bonus AD, but has a higher flat damage. Well, I'm not gonna do the math right now if this is a buff or not, to be honest. Like, yeah, that's just not gonna happen, is it? But I guess if you, let's say you have a Doran's ring or Doran's blade, and you have like a 1 adaptive shard, so you get like 15 AD, let's say. 15 AD, and then you would have that on 130%, so you would have like, what, 18 extra AD on this, and then you're losing the bonus AD, so let's say you have what then? 73, 83. You probably lose on level 1, I would imagine. And yeah, I mean, later on this is gonna be slightly better, but you also lose damage on stacks. Alright, minion monster damage modifier is nerfed by 10%. Q now restores 50 mana to Smolder if it kills a unit once per cost. I mean, this helps his laning a lot, I would say. 125 stacks additional projectiles damage. Additional projectiles damage. 75 to 50, so it just nerfs is like 125 stacks, right? Like, 125 stacks nominal projectiles is up by 1 though. Plus 1 per 67 stacks is now 1 plus 1 from every 125 stacks. It just means that his stacking is less. And then the burn damage on tier 3 on 225 stacks is gonna be halved based on your number of stacks. It's gonna be slightly buffed based on the AD. Overall, this seems like a nerf, but it also seems like his slaning is gonna be a bit nicer. Maybe you don't even need to go on mana item on this champion now, though. I'm not sure. Yeah. Alright, W is, instead of having flat mana now, it's gonna have 50 to 70, so it's gonna be slightly better in the early game. I mean, they're for sure helping his mana issues a bit, I would say, in the early game. So as I said, maybe you don't need to go tier anymore. Glob damage is down by a decent amount of flat, but it's buffed bonus AD, so this is gonna mean he's gonna scale better on this ability. Same thing with the explosion damage, kinda, but explosion damage is actually just flat out buffed, isn't it? Yeah, it's just flat out buffed quite a bit. Combined damage versus champions. Yeah, this is also just a bit buffed, I would say. Yeah. Minion monster damage modifier is nerfed, so they're trying to nerf his wave clear a bit, yeah. Bro, there's a lot of changes. Okay, damage per hit on E. I feel like this... Yeah, I feel like this is like the damage on this ability I don't personally really care about. Maybe that's just me though, like, but it doesn't do that much. I feel like this is not his main damage ability. He uses it as like a... What's it called? Escape tool. Bro, I can't speak like today. I should have done this some other time. Holy shit, bro. Yeah, but 50 damage on hit to 5, and then it's nerfed for what's called your stacks, but it's buffed slightly on your total AD. I mean, overall, it's a bit of a nerf, I would say. Yeah, and their ult, or Smolder ult now, cooldown is down, but it has 50% damage modifier added. This is just to make it so that you can't just one-tap the wave, right, and you just get out. Yeah, so what I will say about this is that what I like about this, let's say, first of all, is that they're nerfing the wave clear slightly. Yeah, they're like... That's like the main thing, honestly. And then otherwise, what I don't like about it is that I don't think you need to remove this much power from the stacks, but I guess that's the way they see they can balance it. But I feel like also, personally, I think Smolder is an issue, because Smolder is an issue in mainly mid lane, but also top lane in certain matchups, where he can just free scale completely. And I think the champion should, if the Smolder was designed around being an ADC, I think it would be way easier to actually balance it. But considering Smolder is not an ADC, I think it's way harder to balance, right? So that's why they have to remove power from the stacks, right? Because it's so easy to get stacks in solo lanes, right? Yeah, I feel like they should have tried to push it in a direction where it's like more of an ADC champion or a bot lane champion rather than solo lane champion, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what changes it does overall. I don't think it's gonna... I'll be honest, I don't think it's gonna do that much. I still think Smolder is gonna be OP on 225 stacks. It seems like Smolder now, if anything, to be honest, will spike a bit earlier, right? Because, like, for example, this is, like, buffed a bit, right? And then, like, the W is buffed a bit. So, if anything, I feel like Smolder is gonna spike earlier. And also, if you don't need to go tier, that's especially true. And if that's the case, then Smolder will just become a champion already on 2 items in mid-game rather than on 225 stacks, right? So yeah, then it's like... If that's the case, then... Yeah, I don't know, it feels like Smolder, if anything, won't be stopped from going to late game, right? Smolder can just enable itself, right, already earlier. Yeah, I don't know. Tom Kench, passive or AP scaling, this is the... No Arm Watley nerf. It literally doesn't affect anyone else on the planet, I think. Let's skip over it. Teemo E damage to monsters is nerfed by 25%. Teemo Jungle is still gonna be strong, I think. Or still gonna be viable, I'm fairly certain. Yeah. And the Q damage decrease on Sack. It's just nerfed on the max HP. They're doing the Skarner nerf to Sack. How insane is this? They're nerfing Skarner and Sack the same way, bro. The exact same way. How insane isn't that? Nah, Sack didn't deserve this, bro. Alright, price of Collector is up by 50. This doesn't do that much, to be honest. Hunt out of combat movement speed. Instead of being 20 flat, it's gonna be 20 for melee, 10 for range. So it's gonna nerf certain like range humans champions, like Jace, for example, potentially. Rave step, active bonus movement speed, the duration. It's gonna be the same thing. So it's just nerfing it on certain range champions. I mean, I can't think of exact like Graves maybe as well, like these kind of champions, right? It's mainly nerfing it on. Juntal Wild Arrows is down by 100 gold. The cooldown is down by 10 seconds. And the attack speed durations is up by 2. So they're buffing this item like crazy because this item is completely shit. I'll be completely honest. Yeah, it's quite a big buff. We'll see if it actually makes it like viable on some champions. I think people are building it, but I don't think people should be building it. Let's put it like that. Bounty system, sure, whatever. All right, that's it. As I said before, if you want to, you can go check out my coaching. As I said before, I left it in the description. You can also check me out on Twitch when I stream, etc. These kind of things. And if you don't have money to pay for coaching yourself, I'm doing a giveaway at 1,000 subs, so you can sub already. And also I have some old coaching videos uploaded, or not old, but like a few months ago, I did a lot of coaching videos here on YouTube, so you can go check that out. I have a playlist on my channel, so yeah, just navigate to that if you're interested. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Yeah.